Section 26 of Poems of American History, the Colonial Era. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Chris Pyle. Poems of American History, the Colonial Era. Chapter 7, King Philip's War and the Witchcraft Delusion, Part 1. Metacomet, or Philip, had succeeded his father, Massasoit, as chief of the Wampanoags, and endeavored to maintain friendly relations with the English, but in June 1675 some of his young men attacked the village of Swansea and started the desperate struggle known as King Philip's War. For months the Indians ravaged the frontier, and on September 18th all but annihilated a picked force of 80 men, the flower of Essex, under Captain Thomas Lathrop, which had been sent to Deerfield to save a quantity of grain which had been abandoned there. Only 9 of the 80 survived. The Lamentable Ballad of the Bloody Brook, September 18th, 1675. Come listen to the story of brave Lathrop and his men, how they fought, how they died, when they marched against the redskins in the autumn days, and then how they fell in their pride by Pocahontas' side. Who will go to Deerfield meadows and bring the ripened grain? Said old Mosley to his men in array. Take the wagons and the horses and bring it back again, and be sure that no man stray all the day on the way. Then the flower of Essex started, with Lathrop at their head, wise and brave, bold and true. He had fought the Pequots long ago, and now to Mosley said, Be there many, be there few, I will bring the grain to you. They gathered all the harvest and marched back on their way, through the woods which blazed like fire. No soldier left the line of march to wander or to stray, till the wagons were stalled in the mire, and the beasts began to tire. The wagons have all forded the brook as it flows, and then the rear guard stays to pick the purple grapes that are hanging from the boughs, when crack, to their amaze, 100 firelocks blaze. Brave Lathrop he lay dying, but as he fell he cried, Each man to his tree, said he, let no one yield an inch, and so the soldier died, and not a man of all can see where the foe can be. And Philip and his devils pour in their shots so fast, from behind and before, that man after man is shot down and breathes his last. Every man lies dead in his gore to fight no more, no more. Oh, weep, ye maids of Essex, for the lads who have died. The flower of Essex they. The bloody brook still ripples by the black mountain side, and never shall they come again to see the ocean tide. And never shall the bridegroom return to his bride from that dark and cruel day, cruel day. Edward Everett Hale. At the approach of winter, the Indians withdrew to Narragansett County, and the colonists decided to strike a decisive blow. An army of 1,000 men was raised, and on the morning of Sunday, December 19th, approached the Narragansett stronghold, a well-fortified position on an island in the midst of a swamp. A murderous fire greeted the assailants, but they forced an entrance into the fort, set fire to the wigwams, and after a terrific struggle, in which they lost nearly 300 killed and wounded, drove the Indians out and destroyed their store of winter provisions. The Great Swamp Fight, December 19th, 1675. Oh, rouse you, men-at-arms, and hear the tale I tell. From Petaquamscut town I come, now hear what there befell. The houses stand upon the hill, not large, each house is full, but largest of them all there stood the house of Justice Bull. 'Twas there, the court said, every year the governor came in state. From there the couriers through the town served summons soon and late. And there, 'tis but 3 years agone, George Fox preached, you remember. That was in May, when he preached peace, and now it is December. Peace, peace, he cried, but righteous God, how can there be true peace, when war and tumult stalk at night, and deeds of blood increase? Revenge, revenge, good captains bold, revenge, my people cry, where stood the house of Justice Bull, but piled up ashes lie. How fared it then? Who may dare tell? The shutters barred the light, as one by one the windows closed, and all was black as night. Strong was the house, and strong brave men, all armed, lay down to sleep. And women fair, and children too, they were to guard and keep. And then a horror in the night, and shouts and fire and knives, and demons yelling in delight as men fought for their lives. And where there stood that goodly house, and lived those goodly men, Full 7 goodly souls are gone. Revenge, we cry again. Up, up, ye men of English blood, the gallant governor cried, and we shall dare to find their lair, wherever it be they hide. For never men of English blood could brook so foul a deed. For all these sins the fierce redskins shall reap their lawful meed. Up rose the little army then, all armed as best they could, with pike and sword and axes broad, flintlocks and staves of wood. And motley was the company, recruits from wood and field, but strong young men were with them then, who'd sooner die than yield. Connecticut had sent her men with Major Robert Treat, each colony in its degree sent in its quota meet. And Massachusetts led the way, and Plymouth had next post. Winslow commands the gathered bands, 1,000 men they boast. The winter sun hung in the sky, and frost bound all things fast. As they set forth from out the north, there blew a bitter blast. The meadow grass was stiff with rime, the frozen brook lay dead. Like stone did sound the frozen ground beneath the martial tread. All day they marched in bitter cold, and when, as fell the night, they reached the hill and gazed their fill upon the piteous sight. No need to urge the rapid chase, the cinders did that well, and in the air a woman's hair told more than words could tell. In stern resolve they lay them down, for rest they needed sore, and long ere dawn the swords were drawn, and open stood the door. Out in the gloom of morning passed full silently those men, and what 'twixt light and fall of night should come no soul might ken. They turned their faces toward the west, the morning air was cold, and softly stepped, while still men slept, with courage high and bold. An Indian they met ere long, 'twas Peter whom they knew. They asked their way, naught would he say to his own comrades true. In anger cried the governor, then let the man be hung, for he can tell, he knows full well, so let him find his tongue. To save his life that wretched man agreed to be their guide. As they marched on, the Indian marched onward by their side. And soon they reached a dreadful swamp with cedar trees o'ergrown, and thick and dark with dead trees stark and great trunks lying prone. 'Twas frozen hard, and Indians there they fired as they ran, and with a bound that spurned the ground the fierce assault began. And then a wonder in the wood, a little rising ground with palisade for shelter made of timber planted round. And but one place of entrance there across a watery way, a tall felled tree gave access free, from shore to shore it lay. Full many a gallant man that day his life left at that tree. The bravest men pressed forward then, and there fell captains 3. A dreadful day, and of our men short work would have been made, but that by grace they found a place weak in the palisade. Then they poured in within the fort, soon filled with Indians dead, and many a one great deeds had done within that place of dread. Then with a torch the whole was fired, the wigwams caught the blaze. The fire roared and spread abroad, and fed on tubs of maize. The night came on, the governor called, the soldiers gathered round. The fort was theirs, and dying prayers were rising from the ground. With care they gathered up their dead, the few who had been spared. All through the cold and pain untold to Warwick they repaired. So was the Indians' power gone, avenged were Englishmen. For from the night of that swamp fight they never rose again. In Narragansett there was peace. The soldiers went their way. All that remains are some few grains of corn parched on that day. Gone is the wrong, the toil, the pain. The Indians, they are gone. Please God we use and not abuse the land so hardly won. Carolyn Hazard. This assault by the colonists drove the Narragansetts, who had hitherto taken no active part in the war, into alliance with Philip, and 2 months later, on February 21st, 1676, Medfield, less than 20 miles from Boston, was attacked and partially burned. Groton soon suffered a similar fate, and the leaders of the savages boasted that they could march on Cambridge, Concord, Roxbury, and Boston itself. It was at this juncture that the Amazonian dames mentioned in the poem became so frightened at the prospect that they resolved to fortify Boston Neck. On a fortification at Boston, begun by women. Dux Femina Facti. March, 1676. A grand attempt some Amazonian dames contrive whereby to glorify their names. A ruff for Boston Neck of mud and turf, reaching from side to side, from surf to surf. Their nimble hands spin up like Christmas pines, their pastry by degrees on high doth rise. The wheel at home counts it an holiday, since while the mistress worketh it may play. A tribe of female hands, but manly hearts, forsake at home their pastry crust and tarts. To knead the dirt, the samplers down they hurl, their undulating silks they closely furl. The pickaxe one as a commandress holds, while t'other at her awk'ness gently scolds. One puffs and sweats, the other mutters, "Why Can't you promove your work so fast as I?" Some dig, some delve, and the others' hands do feel The little wagon's weight with single wheel. And least some feigning fits the weak surprise. They want no sacks nor cakes, they are more wise. These brave essays draw forth male stronger hands, More like to daubers than to martial bands. These do the work the sturdy bulwarks raise, But the beginners well deserve the praise. Benjamin Thompson. End of section 26.